I just gambled about $12,000 on these old city buses with the hopes of turning a little bit of a profit. And I just wanted to walk you guys through my thought process and the process that our scrapyard takes to determine the value of different types of material. And then of course I want to show you the buses a little bit because they're actually in good shape and they all run perfectly fine. I bought these without knowing the condition and they all made the drive back to our facility from about 35 minutes away. So it is a little bit of a shame that these are going to get cut up for scrap because they still are usable. And if you saw the short video I posted the other day, I actually offered these for sale for $5,000 a piece. And that's kind of been very difficult to navigate because I'm getting tons of messages with tons of questions and not very many people that are actually interested in purchasing them. So we'll see what happens there. More than likely, they're going to get processed for scrap, which will be the actual process that I want to show you of determining the scrap value. So one of the first things we need to do is determine what each component of the bus is made of. And so these outside skins and these window frames are actually made of aluminum. So when we actually process these buses, we're going to break them down into their base components and separate them based on the type of metal that they are. So we've got aluminum on the outside. On the inside, there's a little bit of stainless steel with the handrails. There'll be copper wiring run from the front to the back of the bus. And then there'll be other parts like the radiators that are either going to be brass and copper or aluminum, etc., etc. And of course we got the aluminum wheels and tires. And so the plan would be to take this bus completely apart and analyze what it's actually worth once it's broken down. So essentially this bus is a large sample, and we do this all the time with smaller items where they're either contaminated with a non-metallic or it's made up of several different types of metal. And so we'll weigh them initially, tear them apart, and then reweigh each individual component, and that's how we'll determine the value. Anyways, let's take a look at these buses. So I basically bought these buses sight unseen. All I saw were some pictures of them and a very short video clip of them running. They're all the exact same. They're all 2004 models, and they all have the exact same drivetrain. As you can see, they're in good shape on the outside. The worst thing they have is some paint peeling where they've removed some of their logos. I could tell from the photos they all had good tires and aluminum wheels. And we're not really a salvage yard. We're more of just a scrap yard that processes material to be recycled. But it's hard to ignore the fact that the drivetrains could have fairly significant value because all of these buses have a Detroit 50 series 4-cylinder engine with an Allison automatic transmission, and a quick search online showed these engines in running condition listed for somewhere between $8,500 and $12,000. Now our intentions weren't to try to buy these buses and part them out, but it may be worth us listing those engines for a period of time once we remove them from the bus to see if they'll sell before we just scrap them out. Anyways, let me show you the inside. All aboard, last stop, the scrap yard. Sit down, shut up, and enjoy the ride. To my surprise, the insides of the buses are in very good shape. I expected them to be dirty, torn up, full of trash, etc. And they're the complete opposite. They're in really good shape, which is why it's a little bit of a shame that they're going to be cut up for scrap more than likely. I do want to show you a couple of the items that we'll pull out of here. So there are these stainless steel handrails in several different spots. And then in this cabinet is a pretty good depiction of some of the copper wiring that's probably run throughout the bus. I believe this was their security and surveillance system, which looks like they removed most of the components, but there's wiring run up into the ceiling for this. And then of course there will be all of the wiring for the bus itself, from the gauges, the lights, etc., that will run the length of the bus and back to the engine compartment. So as we disassemble the bus and tear it apart, we will definitely pull that copper wire out. As for the actual controls of the bus, I have not personally driven any of these yet, so I don't know exactly what does what, and so some of you guys may know, but it looks like this controls the air conditioning for the bus. And then this, as far as I can tell, is the ignition control to turn the bus on and off. And then of course you have your parking brake release, lights, etc. And then your transmission gear selector. I know I said I was gambling by purchasing these buses, but in reality, I was just taking a calculated risk because I knew at the price I purchased them at, we would break even worst case scenario after our processing costs. I really wanted to go through this practice and determine the value of these buses because I've had the opportunity to buy them several times in the past, but because I didn't know the exact value and they were a little bit outside of my comfort zone, I didn't purchase them. Anyways, I just wanted to share with you guys the thought process on why I purchased these and then how we're going to determine the value. In the coming weeks, we're going to start processing these buses, and I definitely plan to document that and share with you guys some of the results once we get the different types of materials separated and weighed. But as always, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.